know that.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Happiness Quest. My name is Jess Dutel from the Center for Transformation at Plymouth State University.
And I'm Dr. Maria Sanders, a philosophy professor at Plymouth State University and CEO of Philosophy for Life. And today we have a very, very special guest, Patricia Lindberg, known as Trish to her friends. Dr. Patricia Lindberg is a professor of education and the coordinator of the Masters in Integrated Arts and the KEGS program in Arts Leadership at Plymouth State University. And she is the artistic director and co-founder of the Educational Theater Collaborative, known as ETC, the Kearsarge Arts Theater, CAT, the St. Martin's Summer Theater in New Brunswick, Canada, and the Emmy Award-winning theater integrating guidance, education, and responsibility, known as Tiger, a professional educational theater company that has performed for over 350,000 school children regionally, nationally, and internationally. Trish is also a published author and playwright. Her book, Bringing the World Alive, and her original musical, Pollyanna, the short play Bystander Blues, are published by Dramatic Publishing Incorporated. Her original musical production, based on letters from children to the president, Mail to the Chief, was performed at the John F. Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. It's truly an honor to have you on the program, Trish.
We're delighted to have you.
Well, it is an honor to sit
Thank you.
between two such amazing women, so I'm the one that feels honored. So
Well,
thanks for
kind
having
as
me.
well.
She is, and we've been looking forward to this episode. You've provided so much inspiration in our lives, and I will tell you so many incredible experiences for my family, going to your productions, and
Likewise, in fact,
Yeah.
my son has participated in two of her
And I hope
productions.
he'll be back.
And he's looking for the audition notice for this next one.
he's so wonderful.
Which leads me to my first topic here. We're actually looking to focus on arts in the community, and what better place to start than ETC. This has been a really vibrant theatrical production series, really, in the greater Plymouth region. Can you tell us a little bit about ETC, how it got started, and where it is now?
Sure. ETC is a production that started, this is our 25th anniversary, Silver Jubilee, if you believe it. And I have to credit my wonderful colleague Dan Perkins. He and I had a lunch at Biederman's and talked about creating such an organization for the community, and that's kind of how it got started 25 years ago. We did a production. We got permission from Tommy DePaula to do a production of his Stregonona, and that was our very first production. Now, I remember we were so worried because we were afraid we wouldn't have enough people because we only had, I guess we probably had maybe 25 people audition, and we were like, I don't know if we have enough to do.
Can we just get the whole cast?
And it's so funny because now we get like 250 people come and
Amazing to think about it now.
it's always so hard because I want to take everybody, and try to find places for as many folks as I can, because that, to me, is the beauty of ETC, is it shows the true value of community.
Yes.
Because everybody helps everybody else. I'm just one little piece in the cog. There's so many people that make ETC happen. The university gives us the use of Silver Center, which is fantastic. I have many graduate students and undergraduate students involved. We have the wonderful Silver staff. Bob Brimmer comes to mind, Magic Man, I call him, because he does so much to make that production happen. And just the community members alone. I can. I want to give a special shout out to Alex Ray, because Alex Ray has been in so many of our ETC productions, and he just is a problem solver. He is the most creative person that I know, and I am, bar none. I mean, the way that man. I remember we were doing Beauty and the Beast. And he came up to me, he goes, Trish, we got to find out a way to make Mrs. Potts smoke, because she's the teapot, I'm like,
Oh, that's
awesome. Go for it, Alex. And he did.
Yeah.
That's
So
wonderful.
it's that kind of engagement. And I do feel that the reason that people like ETC is because it gives them an opportunity to be face to face with each other, to engage with each other, to create something together.
It's all about community. And
It
speaking of
is.
Alex, he named the flying monkey after one of his characters,
Yes,
right?
he did.
Yeah.
He was a flying monkey. He was flying in the sky. That man will do anything. He's an absolute
He's incredible.
joy. He's a joy and so generous and so kind.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky to have many community members over the years participate in ETC, from police chiefs to surgeons. And shout out to Joe Casey, who's just been such an important part of ETC for many years, and so many individuals that come back year after year. And what's a little scary is now the ETC members are coming back and bringing their children, the kids that started out as children 25 years ago in my productions are now showing up at the auditions with their own children.
It's wonderful.
So
And the productions
it goes
are
on and on.
magic.
Oh.
I mean, it really is like sitting in a magical
Well,
theater.
it's like being in Off-Broadway.
It
It really
is.
is.
I mean,
They're
and
really at a high level.
We've been to performances off Broadway that weren't as high quality. I mean, truly. And I remember sitting when the kids were really little at the Peter Pan performance.
Oh, when he flew over the
Peter
audience.
Pan, we had the most amazing seat. And we were right in the middle, and Peter Pan came right over the audience with pixie dust. And my kids, I mean, they weren't that impressed, even going to Disney World.
I was going to say, how magical
it
for the
was
young
incredible.
members in the
Yeah,
audience.
it was so fun. And so it's really beautiful, like you say, to see the relationships unfold and to build among the community members. It really is about building community and building those relationships. But then through that experience, you're providing such a wonderful experience for everyone who comes to see the performances.
Well, there's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
Because even when you mentioned briefly that it takes a lot of people to put these productions on,
Sure.
we see the people on stage, but there's so many people behind the
Behind.
scenes
Yes.
that really keep it all moving.
Oh,
And then the
absolutely.
audience. I mean, if the audience doesn't show up, you don't
have theater.
a production.
Yeah.
And the audience itself is very diversified. When I look across that auditorium, I mean, you have children, you have adults, you have people from all areas of the region that literally travel in now to see the ETC production.
That's what's fun, is that people make it. They'll say to me, "It's a tradition now," and I love it when I hear that. I've got to bring my aunt because she expects it. It's a tradition. I give her tickets for Christmas, So to me, that's fun,
for
and
sure.
just to see the older people in the production helping the younger people, and the professionals that occasionally we bring in mentoring younger actors, and I think that to me. The value of community is being able to work together on a worthwhile project that you can all feel proud of at the end.
And it's a
Everybody's
team.
piece. It is a team.
It's
It
a
is
team.
not any one person.
But I think it's important to mention, too, that you are a very special person and that you cultivate this safe and loving environment where people have the courage to get out of their comfort zones, because these are not professional actors. And yet, what you are able to draw out of them is mind-blowing. I mean, it is like being, I would say even on Broadway. I would venture to on Broadway.
don't know
The
about that.
performances are so impressive.
Well, I think you have to find the heart.
Yeah.
I think if you find the heart, then the production will resonate with the audience members. You have to touch that emotional place.
Yeah.
That if you choose the right production, it has a solid emotional core. And
you
people
bring that
want to
heart.
laugh, people want to cry, people want to identify with these characters and feel something.
Yeah.
Well, and when you mentioned having this behind the scenes mentoring that's happening with the more seasoned actors as
Yes.
especially the younger kids come in, but
Sure.
even adults who this is their first production.
Sure.
I think that's part of the heart of what ETC brings and an audience can feel. You can tell when the cast is not just going through their scenes or roles. They'll add a little bit more in each production. They take it a little further. And I mentioned at the beginning of the show that my son has been in 2 productions.
He's so great.
My son,
so
this
cute.
is
He is
Brandon, my
wonderful.
youngest, so
He's
he's
so
12
cute.
right now. He was in Shrek, and what was the other one he did? Oh, he just did Hairspray.
Yeah.
So we missed a couple in between there,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
did
yeah.
Shrek and Hairspray.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I told him that I was having you on the program, and he was so excited. He's like, Trish is someone who should be on a happiness show. And I said, well, what has ETC meant to you? getting it through kind of the younger person's eyes.
Sure.
This is what he said. He said, ETC means a lot to me because it was the first place that gave me a chance to be in theater. The people there have been really nice to me, and I have had a lot of fun working with them. I enjoy working with my friends and meeting new people at ETC.
Wow.
It's kind of this fun, safe place.
Because we want it to be there.
Right, and that's where I think they can just grow. And
absolutely.
as soon as you feel safe and secure,
And that
you can
comes from
explore
you.
different things.
That comes from your heart.
It has to be set somewhere. It
Yeah.
has to be set by the coach or the facilitator,
Right.
in this case the director. It has to be set, an expectation.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel very honored to be able to work with the community in this way, because I do feel that there's an incredible power in the arts, and that if we can harness it
Yes.
and give people an opportunity to experience, because here's my professor coming in, but Benjamin Bloom has this great taxonomy where he's talking about the levels of human thought, and at the very, very top of the pinnacle is creativity.
Yes.
And we have to give people an opportunity to be creative. We are creative beings. And I think being able to participate in something where, 1 minute, like I'm really excited about Little Mermaid, which is our production
So is my
coming up.
daughter.
Because my vision, now I don't know if this is going to happen, but my vision is like when people walk in, it's like being under sea, with, I really want people to feel that they're under the ocean, The set is really cool, and I'm very excited about it. And Matt Kaiser's going to be doing some wonderful projections with the video and things. So I just really want people to feel that they're really, a part of something that will transport them to a magical place where they can forget about the trials of their daily life and enjoy a story. And Hans Christian Andersen can tell a story like no one else. It is Disney. It is the Disney version, but that is the music is beautiful, and I look forward very much to trying to bring it to life with the wonderful cast that I'm sure we'll have.
It's going to be great.
Well, and it is so important, as you brought up, the role that creative thought and creativity in general plays just in human development, but also in human flourishing. We talk all the time in the show about the Greek concept eudaimonia, which is living a full and flourishing life. And the creative arts have consistently shown and been corroborated with higher levels of happiness through the scientific research on happiness. It does appear to be one of the variables that sets the human being apart from other rational non-human animals, is we have this ability to create at a very high level. And when we're not doing that, it throws us out of balance. And there are a lot of different ways to create. It doesn't have to be on stage, but it is so very important that we keep those creative juices and that creative flow in our lives, and in a very consistent way, not where we carve out a little time once every other year, we're going to create now, where it becomes part of our being.
It also helps us make sense of our world and our experiences.
Absolutely.
And through your productions, you have tackled some complex issues, and having the opportunity to really think through that as a community and to heal as a community, and then to offer those lessons through this safe experience to audience members. I think that's really important when we're talking about coming together in community, to really having the break from maybe our daily lives, but having also that time to reflect through a really fun experience.
Well, that is true. Whether it's theater, or whether it's music or art, the visual arts, art has a way of moving conversations forward where sometimes our words get in the way.
Absolutely.
Or our raw emotions get in the way. And it does create this a little more safe way of continuing the conversation in multiple directions, even simultaneously. Because with art, there's always that interpretive level to it.
It's really, those are both really, really good points. And I expressly chose Hairspray last year as the production because I was feeling in our country there was so many things that I felt like I really wanted to make a statement about, and I felt like by using that show I could make a statement about how I felt about acceptance of all, and embracing the differences amongst ourselves, because we're all different. There's no one that's the same. And trying to make that statement was very important to me. And it was one of the best experiences was after the show was over, I was walking down Main Street and a community member stopped me and just said, "Trish, I saw your production. Thank you so much. And I want you to know, I get it." She said, "I get what you were saying." And that was so empowering to me, because I'm not a politician, I'm not, but sometimes you feel as a community member you have to stand up when things are going on that are bothering you. And I felt like through my art, through that production, I could make a statement about how I felt about acceptance of others. And so it was very
powerful.
Very, for me too, to be able to watch what happened, in the community when they sang the big song. For those of you, many of you, I'm sure, didn't see it, but for those of you that saw it, if you remember the moment when she sang, "I Know Where I've Been," and I had this idea to run the civil rights photographs and video behind it, and to really, in some ways, highlight that we really it hasn't changed a lot.
Yeah,
There's a lot of racial tension still in our country. And when the audience in the middle of the production stood after that, multiple times in different nights of performances, stood, which is called an internal standing ovation, which rarely happens in theater, where an audience is full bore standing up in the middle of a production. And I really felt at that moment that audience was standing in solidarity with those Black performers on the stage to say, "We hear you, we're going to try to do everything we can to be better."
What a beautiful and powerful moment.
For me, it was amazing to watch that, that they just stood, and it was almost like because those actors gave 300% in that scene. And it was so incredibly powerful. And to just see that exchange between actor and audience go back and forth, and that dialogue that took place without any additional words. Again, it's just that emotional exchange that happened was incredibly powerful. So,
well, I commend you for doing production of Hairspray, because that takes courage as well.
I was scared to death to tackle it, because first of all, it involved a lot of different kinds of issues that we had never touched upon in ETC, and it's not the typical ETC show. And a lot of people ask me, "Wow, that's a strange choice." People were kind of questioning it a little bit at first, and every once in a while, you just got to do something that you feel is the time to do, and we found ways. There weren't as many opportunities for children, and that's probably a lot of the reason why people were a little surprised by it. But that's why we're doing Little Mermaid this year. So we have lots of children this year, but we had a chorus, and the kids did a wonderful job performing in the chorus. We would never want anyone to feel excluded from a production, but every once in a while, the time is right, and you have to seize upon it. And I felt the time was right for that particular production. There had been so many shootings and so many, just a lot of racial tension in the country, and I just felt like it was time.
It was an act of courage, and I think it was really important to start a conversation, because through the arts you have this opportunity to kind of step outside of yourself and to have it, like Maria was saying, in a safer environment. And when we're talking about really complex, really complicated things, sometimes people get frozen in fear. And they're paralyzed because they don't know what to say and if it's the right thing, or they're scared of offending somebody. So I think it was a really important way to start the conversation in this community, because it was the right time, I think. And I thank you for having the courage to
And it's
do
so
that.
important to remember, it's in those moments where we truly make ourselves vulnerable,
Yes.
where we aren't comfortable, that we really learn and grow and develop, not just as individuals, but as a community. That's what moves it forward. I found it so interesting when you mentioned being stopped on the street. I did one of there were a series of workshops that professors came in, and we basically, in a very small amount of time, tried to hit on different themes or topics, and it was really to create this springboard that if individuals wanted to continue a conversation, they knew here are some point people you can go have that conversation with, an extension of that safe environment. The number of people who approached me individually during basically the preparation, that time leading up to Hairspray, I actually lost count. I want to say there were at least 20 some, what I would say like younger members where they were under age of 18. Some of them were actors that came in from New York. Some of them were local individuals.
Yeah.
And then I had roughly about 16, 17 adults approach me. But what I found interesting, individually, every single case, it wasn't even where they'd have one other person with them. And that's how you know that you're hitting on a topic that has that very high potential to paralyze people, where they're not going to even approach it because of fear. And what I found interesting, they weren't all coming from the same point of view, the same backgrounds, experiences, even knowledge. And it wasn't something I could divide by age. A lot of it had to do with life experiences.
Interesting.
Yeah, you had very young members who, if you would put them behind a screen and disguise their voice, they would have seemed like they were 70, 80 years old, and the life experiences they were sharing on this topic. And so when it comes down to, yes, Hairspray was around racial issues in particular, but it was more importantly about common acceptance as a person, as an individual, whether it's gender, age, race, whatever those distinguishing features would be. And I'll tell you what resonated with a lot of the younger cast members is the bullying.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I can relate to this. And even if they didn't have any direct connection, they may have been sitting from a place of privilege when it came to race. They got the message that it's about humanness. It's about accepting people as they are, and as they want to be, honoring each other.
Yes.
And so that's why I really do say, I think it was an act of courage, and I commend you for starting that conversation.
It was transformative.
Yeah. And it's still continuing.
For
you know,
sure.
because those kind of important issues, they don't end when the actors take their bow.
Yeah. No,
So,
it's a
well
ripple.
done.
It's a ripple effect. And speaking of bullying, can we talk about Tiger for a moment? So I taught.
Excited about Tiger.
Oh, I love Tiger. I taught
you.
middle school years ago.
yeah.
You know, I worked at the youth center, and I have 3
Yes.
kids in the school
Yes.
district, and I hear about Tiger all the time.
Now,
And
again,
it's
some of
made
our
a
listeners
difference.
may not be familiar with Tiger.
Yes.
Do you want to first tell us a little bit about what Tiger is, how it got started?
Sure. Tiger got started in a hallway in Rounds Hall. This is the honest truth. My own daughter was in middle school, and there was some concerns with some bullying going on, and I just kept thinking, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? And again, it's same thing with the Hairspray thing I was talking about. It's like, okay, so use what you know. Use what you know to try to help. So that was really the impetus for starting Tiger. And it stands for Theater Integrating Guidance, Education, and Responsibility. And I worked with a former vice president at Plymouth State University named Denise Maslakowski, who I adored and was my mentor when I first came to Plymouth. She okayed it. I remember coming to her with the idea. It literally was in the hallway and saying, oh, Denise, we have this idea to do this project. And I was working with Gary Goodnow and Gail Mears and a graduate student of mine. And she said, sounds great, go for it, you know, which I loved about her, because she would believe in, if she believed in you and you had the energy to pull off an idea, which is, if you're an entrepreneur like me, which I consider myself, I love taking an idea, getting excited about it, and then moving it forward. You know, to me, that is the joy of my life. And it's wonderful when you have an administrator that recognizes that and supports it and says, go for it. If you have the energy to do it, you know? And so that's how Tiger started, and we started thinking about it. And I don't even know, we were in just in a conversation like this where we came up with the idea for Tiger. I don't know, people say, why didn't you call it Panther? Well, I maybe...
That would be a longer acronym.
I didn't even think of it at the time, but we would have had to hire more actors. It would have been more expensive. But
And you would have had to repaint in the van.
but I don't know. I mean, my first children's theater I created was called Cat Company, so maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a theme going there. There's a cat theme. I do love cats. But but it just started to unfold. Like,
Yeah.
okay, Tiger, 5 letters. Every show will teach 5 concepts. The concepts will be tied to the letters so that the children can remember them. So T will stand for example, take action, when you
Yes.
see a bullying situation. I might stand for I can say no. G might stand for get help, So, I mean, each of the, and that's worked really well for us. And we've developed, this is our 16th season. And we have a fantastic cast this year. We have a graduate student at Plymouth State from the Dominican Republic who is one of our actors. We have a young man from Pennsylvania. We have a recent graduate from Emerson College, a graduate student from Emerson College, who also happens to be Pam Irish, who is the tour manager and the business manager for ETC. I have to do a shout out to Pam because neither of these organizations would exist without Pam Irish, and it's really important. Everybody out there knows that because she is amazing. Pam Irish, she just works so hard on behalf of both of these programs. But these actors are amazing, and I'm very excited because I've been thinking about creating a new show. We do a new show about every 2 to 3 years, add it to the repertoire. And I knew that I needed to do one. I just felt it was time, and I was like, what am I going to do it? And then something came to me about resilience, and maybe in my own life needing resilience, and people around me, and just really students, developing grit and resilience, and what kind of strategies for wellness and all that.
Right.
So that was the show, and it's called Brand New Day, and I got the title from if those of you that saw Shrek, Fiona, the beautiful young woman who played Fiona, Natalie, she also played Penny Pingleton last year. She has turned into an amazing composer, and she and her husband recorded this song called Brand New Day. And I loved it. I was like, Natalie, I love this song, It's a great song. And so I called her up and said, Natalie, I'm doing this new show. Your song literally just inspired my show because I really want to call it Brand New Day. Would you be willing to work with us? And, we'll hire you to, write this, because we had to change a few words, but not too many. And she was delighted and all excited. And so she actually ended up writing 2 songs for the show. And then one of the songs was written by one of the actors, which the finale of the whole show, and it's a beautiful song that Francois wrote. And then I have a rap in there. The kids really love those raps. And there's a great new rap in there about imagination that's really cool, about using your imagination, by Nick Wright, who is a former Tiger member. And then we have a composer from Boston we work with quite frequently named Tom Dowd, who wrote the rest of the music. But it's all original and all new skits.
It's
and,
exciting. I want to see
I'm
that
looking forward to
one.
seeing it. I'm as excited about this one as anyone I've ever done.
Yeah.
It's really fun as, if you can, and at my heart, I'm an artist, and watching your own process, as you, again, it's the 16th year, watching Tiger evolve.
Yes.
And I think this particular show just hits, and at the very end of the show, we blew up this picture. Huge. It's really, really big, so that even an audience of 300 kids could see it. And we had been working with this woman who brought to our attention this post that was on the internet by this mother of this young man. It was the young man was in Colorado. His name was Jackson, and it was heartbreaking about this child who had a genetic medical illness and was being horribly bullied at school, called monster, freak, rocks were thrown at him. I mean, horrendous. And the mother's post just broke my heart. And this woman had befriended the mom and told the mom about Tiger and asked if we could use Jackson's story, and the mother agreed.
Wow.
So we closed the show. I mean, there's a musical number and a little bit of a tying together after this, but we used Jackson's photo in the show.
Wow.
And it still chokes me up to think about it. The first time I saw the show was at Canterbury Elementary. And when we had, in front of a school audience, when we had showcased it on campus. The same thing happened, but they were adults, you know.
Right.
And I wondered, well, what's going to happen when there's children? It was the same kind of stillness, and I don't know if you know the kind of stillness I mean. It's different than quiet. It's
Yes.
it's everyone is so hyper focused, and it just, you know, the entire audience of kids from kindergarten up through 6th grade, you know, were just quiet watching the story about Jackson, and I'm
What an impact.
well, I hope it makes kids think,
Yeah.
because as we make the point in the show, there are Jacksons everywhere.
Yes.
You know, this is we're using special thanks to Jackson. We're using Jackson's story to make a point, but there are Jacksons in every single elementary school you walk into, and
Absolutely.
the climate that's set at that elementary school and the way kids and adults treat each other matters.
Yes.
The way we treat each other in our greater society matters. We can't be bullying people and calling people names and making points about people's physical appearance and belittling people. It's just not the great American society. It's not what we want to promote for our children or in our own lives. And so I feel really strongly about this show, and I can't wait to see it again. I'm going to see it again next week, and out in the schools. We try to go out as often as we can.
Sounds amazing. And I want to thank you so much for cultivating compassion and love, because we need more of it. And I can't believe I have to say this, but we're out of time. And I wanted to talk so much longer with you. We're going to have to grab coffee. But I want to extend my deepest gratitude for all the inspiration you've brought into my life and into the community. You're such a bright light. And
likewise. Look
And
who's
I
talking.
need to squeeze one thing in before
Yeah.
we go off air, because I felt that it was really important for you to hear directly from some of the cast members. And I had received a lot of responses, but I only have time for one since we're almost out of
now
time.
you're really going to make me cry.
But this is from AJ Coppola.
Oh, I love
You're
him.
probably near and dear to your heart. He's the music director at Campton Elementary. And when I asked him what ETC means to him, this is what he wrote. I was told to audition for ETC by a parent. It was my first year teaching, and I wasn't familiar with the program, but I had done lots of theater in high school, so I thought I would give it a shot. ETC is a roller coaster ride of an experience. There is nothing like it. Within days, you are extremely close with all your cast members, and you are rehearsing at an extremely high level. Trish is a director who would never expect the performer to give more than she is, and she is constantly given 100%. She doesn't stop. Her energy is infectious. Her directions are always complimentary, and her vision is clear. The most magical part of the experience as a teacher is having students in the cast. It's the most clear time when I can show them by doing. How do I act in rehearsals? How prepared can I be? What do I expect of myself? The kids see that, and they see what I want from my actors. And I know that I do better on stage because I'm inspired by Trish's energy and passion for communicating ideas and emotions through theater. Trish is an essential member of our community and a personal inspiration to me. She is one of the reasons the Plymouth community is so special to me and why I can't imagine ever leaving it. So with that, thank you again, Trish. And thank you all
we
for
love you.
tuning in today.
Thank you.
Thanks.